Hello everyone and welcome back to The Social Tune. Today we're going to take a look at the top 50 songs of the year. Now, some of you may be wondering, well, didn't you already make a list like this? Well, no, not quite. Those were the hit songs, my top 10 best hit songs. These are the songs overall, the entire year. Now keep this in mind, I reviewed, at least to myself, not to you, so don't go looking for those reviews, over 200 albums this year, which is a lot for me anyway. That is a lot, and because of that I had thousands of songs to choose from, and narrowing it down to 50 was absolutely excruciating, but at the same time I am very pleased with the list that I have, and I hope that you will too. So if there is a song on this list that you don't agree with, or if there is a song that is missing from this list, at least in your opinion, then please send it to me. I will be happy to listen to it. With that said, let's get started. Number 50, Tomorrow Never Comes by the Zac Brown Band. Well, what am I supposed to say? It's a blend of electronic and country music, perfectly fused together, better than anything Avicii did. Look, sorry, I do love Avicii, but let's be honest, this is just better. This is just another reason why the Zac Brown Band is so awesome and is still one of the best country acts working in music today. Fantastic job. Number 49, Isabel by the Wombats. It's simultaneously heartbreaking and heartwarming. While the rest of the album was exuberant as all hell, and that was great, don't get me wrong, the moments that weren't really shone through, and this was definitely one of them. This song is an emotional gut punch. It's a love song to a woman who is abusing the protagonist, and yet despite that it's still a love song because whenever she touches him, he's putty in her hands all over again. This song is absolutely heartbreaking, and yet at the same time you just want to see these two get together because it makes the protagonist so happy. It's a complicated relationship indeed, but you know what, it's still made for a beautiful song. Number 48, Better Than That by Marina and the Diamonds. Usually a song like this would be insufferable, because let's be honest, there have been several people who have tried to do this, like say Passengers Let Her Go, where he encourages this man to just let her go, probably so that he can hook up with her. But here it's excellently framed. Not only is the protagonist's ex hooking up with a friend of the protagonist, but at the same time the protagonist knows that that friend has been trying to separate them for ages, and she's not asking him to take her back. No, she's asking him not to get together with this girl because, in her words, he deserves better than that. It really is a caring song, and despite the fact that they're no longer together, it really is telling that Marina is still looking out for this guy. It really is something that you don't see in many relationships. It's a heartwarming song, and it is exactly what I want pop music to sound like, with a veneer of class that is undeniable. Fantastic song. Number 47, Nightcrawler by Czarface. Every hero needs a theme song, and this song is absolutely awesome. It's a fitting tribute to the pretty awesome superhero Nightcrawler. But apart from that, this song is just awesome. The bars are at their best. The production is punchy and memorable. The guest verse is fantastic. The punchlines are incredibly strong. The chorus is memorable and absolutely wonderful. Wrap it all up with an incredibly catchy melody and punchy drums, and you've got one of the best songs of the year, easily. Number 46, Price Tag by Sleater-Kinney. The post-punk howl, the chugging guitar, the unforgettable riff that tells you that time is up. There is an urgency to this track, that the past has caught up with our protagonist, which is perfect considering it's set in post-recession. It's a song about the relationship between work and wage, and how some people will take advantage of that and become stinking rich, like say Leonardo DiCaprio in Wolf of Wall Street, while others, the ones who work to support their families, suffer in their wake. And that's before we get our awesome guitar outro, which is peppered with howls all the way to the end. Great song. Number 45, Pageant Material by Kacey Musgraves. I'll admit, I wasn't blown away by Kacey Musgraves' new album. I mean, it was great, don't get me wrong, but considering her last album was my favourite album of 2013, yeah, my expectations were set a little high. And yes, despite all that, it's still Kacey Musgraves, and the title track is a prime example of why I love her. The fantastic blend of different guitars, but with a defined melody, Kacey's trademark excellent writing, cynicism, wit, and populism, including herself in the framing, as per usual, as she berates a society that values people by their looks alone, ultimately coalescing into beauty pageants, the ultimate staple of what is wrong with our hypocritical society. All anchored by excellent singing, this song is easily one of her best and one of my favourite this year. Great job, Kacey. Number 44, Get to Heaven by Everything Everything. On an album filled with political songs which were insanely catchy but which unfortunately rang as rather preachy, we have an excellent blend of the best of both worlds together in the title track. It's a comment on the human condition, being more interested in what's for dinner, or what your password is, or where your keys are, than the violence going on around you, like say in the Middle East. It's excellently written, it's insanely catchy, and with an incredible instrumental interlude. The song is both mournful and yet oddly hopeful. Sure, the dying people are suffering, but at least they're going to a better place, transcending their own problems and also the first world problems of the more fortunate. In other words, the more fortunate ones are now the ones left behind, and their problems suddenly seem a lot bigger to those who are in a better place. Fantastic, brilliant song. Number 43, Bills by Lunch Money Lewis. I've already talked about this song, but let me reiterate. It's fun, it's funny, it's populist, it's energetic, it has an unforgettable chorus. The instrumentation is busy without ever feeling crowded. Seriously, what's not to love about this song? Number 42, Diet Soda Society by The Maine. The Maine's album was a ton of fun, but the surprising moments of existentialism and social commentary made it something special. Not only is this song a ton of fun, but it has our narrator on a date asking existential questions to the girl who's with him. And yes, his girlfriend tells him to shut up and drink, for fear that people will hear them and judge them. In other words, this song is about the dulling of intelligence in order to belong within society, which is kind of sad. But through incredible instrumentation and a great singer, this remains a ton of fun and definitely one of the best of the year. Number 41, Archer on the Beach by Destroyer. Easily one of the subtlest tracks on Destroyer's album, it's also easily my favourite. It's understated, but no less intricate or poetic, detailing our protagonist shooting for love and missing over and over again, ending up alone. And yet, despite that, the protagonist lightheartedly laughs at himself, using light profanity like the asking to lighten his mood and lessen his loneliness. To me though, this is also a reflection of the loneliness that the success of Kaput brought to Destroyer. Just like the Ice King from Adventure Time, all alone at the top of society, searching for love and yet always ending up alone, sort of in the vein of Open Mike Eagle's Very Much Money. Disagree with my theory? Well, what's yours? It's poetry, it can be interpreted many different ways. Either way, I absolutely love it. Number 40, Tear in My Heart by 21 Pilots. It's telling that this is the only song on Blurryface that the persona of temptation on this album, namely Blurryface, is absent, because our protagonist has found his true muse in the woman he loves. Hence, my taste in music is your face. Sure, it sounds like a non sequitur, but really think about it. His taste in music isn't Blurryface, it's her face. In other words, her face is his inspiration, his muse. Oh, and it's also a phenomenal, piano-driven, anthemic love song with an exuberance that was unmatched throughout this entire year. Easily one of my favourite songs of the year. Number 39, This by Frank Music. This is awesome. This is so impressive. I love this. With his new album, Frank Music took a definite step towards the festival scene, and while it doesn't really have a song as good as, say, Call to Arms on it, which was one of my top 10 favourite songs of last year, period, this is still absolutely amazing and easily one of the best songs of his career thus far. Apart from that, it's also better than anything Calvin Harris or David Guetta have tried to do in this vein. This is what anthemic, uplifting music should sound like. And considering his considerably lower budget than those two artists that I just mentioned, This is a testament to Frank Music's incredible talent as a producer as well as a vocalist. Excellent work. Number 38, Woman in the Moon by Blackberry Smoke. A vague, undefined journey has never sounded so epic. But whatever that Woman in the Moon is, if this song is what it takes to get there, then she is definitely worth it. It's country rock at its absolute best, borrowing from the best of Deep Purple to create something entirely unique and absolutely awesome. Easily one of the best songs of the year. Number 37, Beautiful Blue Sky by Odds. I've already said I'm not a fan of repetition in music, at least not when it's used merely to fill up space. Well, this is how you use it correctly. The repeating lines show just how the human race has become sheep to routine and what society dictates as normal. So, rebellious as always, Alt made a song that is anything but conventional. Our protagonist has lost his fear of death itself, and after seeing what he's surrounded by, can you really blame him? And yes, with an unbelievable melody, a great crescendo, and a touch of talking heads, this song is absolutely awesome, and yet still refreshingly weird. Number 36, Song for Josh by Frank Turner. On an album filled with loud, fast-paced songs, Frank Turner opts for a quiet acoustic ballad as the closing track, a tribute to his friend Josh, who committed suicide some time before. There were plenty of tribute songs to celebrities that I heard this year, and yet the one that hits the hardest is to someone that I never even heard of before. Frank Turner's delivery is incredibly emotive. His writing is great, and his voice is filled with a mixture of guilt that he wasn't able to help his friend, and sadness that his friend was so alone that he didn't even reach out to him in the first place. Sure, he isn't sure what he would have said, but he's still sad that Josh couldn't even bring himself to ask him and that he felt so alone at the end of his life. A heartbreaking and yet absolutely excellent song. Number 35, Pretty Pimpin' by Kurt Vile. Now, say what you will about Frank Turner, his intentions are usually clear. But Kurt Vile, this guy makes so many songs with deeper meanings, yet denies that those deeper meanings are even there. Well, either way, this is still a ton of fun, detailing the life of a man who doesn't even recognize his own reflection. A pretty clear metaphor for an existential crisis, and yet on top of that, it's anchored in a great guitar line and Kurt Vile's infectious, fun, and incredibly likable voice. This song just works for me. But knowing Kurt Vile, this song is probably just meant as a fun, laid-back track. And you know what? It definitely works in that regard as well. Number 34, Heaven by Troye Sivan. Yeah, sure, it's a late entry, but that doesn't mean it isn't a deserving one. This song tackles a subject that is very difficult, as Troye Sivan tries to reconcile his sexuality as a gay man with his faith, attempting to get to heaven despite the fact that those in charge of the church tell him that the two just don't go together. And there is no easy answer. At first I was blown away by how good the writing was, until I found out it was co-written by Jack Antonoff, the frontman of Bleachers, whose album Strange Desire you should all be checking out yesterday. With Troye Sivan's emotional performance at its core, this is easily one of the best songs of the year. Number 33, Dearly Departed by Marianas Trench. Guitar ballads are corny, ukulele ballads are just ridiculous. And yet, Marianas Trench is so good they even managed to make one of those work. And it does not come across as corny. No, instead it comes across as heartbreaking and beautiful, hitting you like a speeding car straight to your gut, particularly in the bridge near the end. It's just another reason why more people should be listening to Marianas Trench. And on an album that I absolutely adored, it still manages to stand out as one of the best of the year. Number 32, And When You Fall by Algiers. Algiers' entire album was a savage, biting attack against those who would undermine black culture, exempting the vulnerable, quieter moments of mourning. This isn't so much an attack as it is an imminent threat. Algiers knows that those responsible are bound to fall eventually, and when they do, they'll be waiting, ready to take them down once and for all, with a chugging bass groove, wailing, howling gospel vocals, and incredibly sharp lyrics. This is easily the best song on Algiers' album, as well as one of my favorites. Number 31, King Kunta by Kendrick Lamar. Now at first glance, this may seem like the simplest song on the album, at least conceptually. Kendrick is basically running a game that wants to see him fail, and he admits that that game has temptations, which have consumed many other big league runners, like say Richard Pryor, Bill Clinton, and Michael Jackson. However, Kendrick opts to ignore those temptations, and because of that, he knows that people are going to attack him for it. And yet, they're also weighed down by their own weaknesses and their own shortcomings. In other words, they're suicidal, they're killing themselves, he doesn't have to do anything about it. With all that supported by a funky bass guitar and a scratchy guitar outro, this is easily one of the best songs of the year, and I absolutely love it. Number 30, Happy Returns by Steven Wilson. Easily one of the most heart-wrenching songs of the year. The album closer to Steven Wilson's Hand Cannot Erase is gut-wrenching, as our protagonist starts writing a letter to her brother, asking how he is and how the kids are, before going to bed, too tired to continue. And with the incredible instrumental outro that changes several times at just the right points but it doesn't feel overlong, culminating in the fading voices of a heavenly choir, I think we all know her fate. Beautiful song. Number 29, Animals by Dr. Dre, featuring Anderson .Paak. Amongst the many political songs that were released this year, Dr. Dre released one of the best. Not only is his production matched perfectly by DJ Premier's, with neither one trying to overshadow the other, but working together in perfect symbiosis, if that makes sense. But Anderson .Paak's emotive voice is fantastic against all of it. But despite the great message of the chorus, namely that the only time black people will ever come under scrutiny is when they're committing felonies, which is just as true for rap music in general, it goes even deeper than that. While Dr. Dre shaped that black community through his music, reaping the rewards, Anderson .Paak grew up in said community, having to face the unfortunate repercussions of Dr. Dre's success. It's an incredible move for a veteran like Dre to include a song like this on his final album, left wondering if he did more bad than good in the long run. Either way, it's an absolutely fantastic song. Number 28, Speed Trap Town by Jason Isbell. If you had told me a year ago that one of my favorite songs of the year would be about a man pulling the plug on his own father, who is in a coma, in order to move on with his life, I would have been concerned for my health within a year. And yet, through the songwriting genius that is Jason Isbell, that's what happened. As it turns out, despite his love for his father, he is being trapped in that town, unable to move on, due to a father who, at the end of the day, was a state trooper who abused his position in order to hit on women, which resulted in him getting a heart attack while cheating on his wife. And even then, despite the fact that the man should be dead, even according to his own doctors, Jason Isbell still perfectly portrays the struggle that that choice takes. The struggle that our protagonist has to go through. Like I said, our protagonist still loves his father, but he's also suddenly realizing the futility of his life, and that he has to move on in order to get closure. It's a complex song, to be sure, but it definitely earns it. Number 27, Make Them Gold by Chvrches. Here, Chvrches presents a very difficult thesis masterfully, namely that the most important parts of our life, the ones that make the best parts of ourselves, are the hardest ones, the time when we suffer most, namely because that's when our best qualities are put to the test, and if we overcome those trials, those best qualities will become gold. Not only does this song have an unforgettable chorus, but our lead singer sounds as gorgeous as ever, and the melody is absolutely unforgettable. Damn great song. Number 26, The Rest Is Noise by Jamie XX. This year, I regularly referred to In Color by Jamie XX as a sonic tapestry, and if I'm looking for the frame within that tapestry, which perfectly sums up what a masterpiece it is, it would be this song. Not only is the crescendo incredible across the entire length of this song, but the many different elements fuse together perfectly to form something uniquely powerful, unlike anything I've ever heard before. It did more with just instrumentation than most of the songs I've heard this year, and you know what? That on its own makes it more than deserving of this spot on this list. Number 25, Deliver by Lupe Fiasco, featuring Ty Dolla $ign. Lupe Fiasco's new release was praised by many this year, and yet one of my favorite songs on the album tended to be overlooked. More than any other song on the album, this song really does reflect the youth aspect of the title. A song detailing a neighborhood where black on black as well as police brutality has reached such an extreme that they can't even get pizza delivered to their houses. Sounds trivial, I know, but through Lupe's fantastic bars and anchored in Ty Dolla $ign's best performance to date, basically just used to enhance the atmosphere, which is perfect for him, and all coupled with one of the best choruses of the year, this was an easy pick for this list. Number 24, Happiness, Missouri by Elvi. Elvi's album was peppered with undertones that reflected the Minutemen's influence, but this is where it was most obvious. Not only that, but at a second glance, this is also a political song, discussing the shooting of Michael Brown in Missouri. A song this awesome could only come from a genius like Matt Berringer, and it does not disappoint. Damn great work. Number 23, Uma Thurman by Fall Out Boy. Yep, the only this was coming. What can I say? Is it their smartest song? No, not even close. And yet, the moment I heard the Monsters theme sample, I knew it was going to be one of my favorite songs of this year. I'd already talked about the song on my year-end list, so to keep it short, it's awesome, it's catchy, it's easily the best song on American Beauty, American Psycho, as well as one of their best songs ever, and I absolutely love it. Number 22, Long Island Sound by James McMurtry. One of the great strengths of James McMurtry's excellent album was the fact that it acknowledged that the present has its benefits as well. And this song sums that up perfectly, as our protagonist finds an unfinished song in his car on Long Island. It causes him to reminisce about his old life and where his life might have gone if he had continued living that life. Yet, it's not so much regretful as it is curious, wondering how things may have been if he had gone on a different path, but still happy with his life and with his family now. Top it all off with an incredible sing-along chorus. This is a song to drink to with old friends, and honestly, who could ask for more? One of the simplest pleasures in life. Number 21, Leave a Trace by Chvrches. Yet another great example of why Chvrches is awesome. This is the best one yet. Not only is the production at its tightest and the melody one of the strongest of the year, but the excellent writing with fantastic framing and nuance. This track doesn't so much berate the guy spreading rumors about our protagonist, so much as hope that those who listen will take the time to consider both sides of the story before judging either of them. In other words, she's also looking out for the guy who's spreading rumors about her. Anchored by one of the sharpest and most gleaming synths of the year, this is a damn excellent song and definitely deserving of its slot on this list. Number 20, El Dorado by Wade Bowen and Randy Rogers. It's a song reminiscing about the way country music used to be, but while they are fond of it, they also acknowledge that their time has passed and it's time to move on, no matter how much they may miss it. There is no road to eternal youth and wealth. In other words, eternal relevance, which is a great use of the metaphor El Dorado, by the way. Excellently written and mournfully performed, this song is excellent. But pure country music also needs to be innovative to stand out, so how about one of the best instrumental outros of the year with a full minute of solos? Incredible. Number 19, How Much a Dollar Cost by Kendrick Lamar. There were many songs this year that discussed the relationship between the artist and God, but few were framed this excellently. Kendrick should come across as completely unlikable in this song, considering he's hoarding his wealth, refusing to even give $1 to a bum. But through excellent writing, we learn that he values money not because he's greedy, but because of the struggle he had to go through to earn that money. If that weren't enough, Kendrick actually condemns that frame of mind, stressing that success should never separate us from those who are less fortunate than us. As it turns out that the bum that Kendrick refused is God himself, and despite his vast wealth on earth, Kendrick now has to pay for it in the afterlife, as that $1 cost him his place in heaven. Chilling, true, but all the more powerful for it. Number 18 is Fairly Local by 21 Pilots. Even before I heard Blurry Face, I knew that this was going to be my favorite song on the album. This is a gothic conflict between our protagonist and his insecurities and worry in the form of Blurry Face. And despite just how awesome the lyrics are depicting the protagonist taking back his self-control and standing up for himself, it's the icy, punchy production that vaults this song from great to absolutely awesome. Fantastic song. Number 17, Wildfire by Marianas Trench. What, you still need a reason to listen to Astoria? Well, here's another one, and it's one of their best songs to date. It has a phenomenal crescendo, and it's so damn refreshing, because the woman who the protagonist has been pining over since the very beginning of the album comes back, and our protagonist has to debate whether or not to take her back, and, refreshingly, he decides not to. This song is heartbroken, but it has an undeniable power behind it. Of course, you have the typical fantastic songwriting, but on top of that, it's anchored by a plethora of instrumentation, which swells and builds before gently fading into a mournful silence. Awesome. Number 16, The Bends by Doomtree. I love All Hands, but the standout track is easily The Bends. Apart from not sounding like anything I've ever heard before, the wordplay is at its strongest, the atmosphere is dark and menacing, the fantastic production is anchored by an electric guitar, the chorus is anthemic, yet still chilling, and our 5 MCs are at their best. Coupled with some of the best instrumentation of the year, this is an easy standout amongst rap songs this year, as well as one of the best. Number 15, The Only Thing by Sufjan Stevens. This is the story of a man who is suicidal, and yet he doesn't kill himself because the only thing holding him back is the beauty of what surrounds him. In other words, the beauty of God's creations. But rather than sounding preachy or making you roll your eyes at every single line, it sounds desperate and lonely. The important thing to point out is that he is not suicidal because he just lost his mother, but because he suddenly realizes that she wasn't a very good mother, and he starts wondering if she ever even loved him at all. It's a gorgeous, heartbreaking gut punch of a song. But the real reason it's here is for the instrumental interlude toward the end. My God, one of the most heart-wrenching moments of the year. Number 14, To Die in LA by Lower Dens. This is just a striking song, capturing the vapidity of Hollywood culture and the fact that we will connect more to characters on a screen than the actors playing them. The only way to describe To Die in LA is if Canadian band Always covered Red Eyes by the War on Drugs. Or, to put it simply, easily one of the best songs of this year and another highlight in Lower Dens' discography. Number 13, A Superior Lament by Panopticon. Every time I listen to Panopticon's new album, it blows my mind, but this 11-minute epic still stands out as the easy highlight. It perfectly captures the terrified fear looking towards the future, what winter after autumn may bring, and yet it's also cautiously hopeful, which fills the song with a certain warmth set against all that chilly background. Buoyed by spectacular guitar work, Austin Lund's chilling howls paired with an incredibly potent performance by Petri Eskelinen, this is easily one of the best metal songs you will hear this year, as well as one of the best overall. Number 12, Who Killed Russell Jones by B. Dolan. There are many rappers who are referred to as poets, but if I was looking for a song that encapsulates just how advanced you have to be considered a true great poet, I would point at this song. A spoken word piece with minimally yet very effective production. B. Dolan's chilling voice rings out with a track detailing the aftermath of Old Dirty Bastard's death, and how everyone attempted to deflect the blame until it becomes clear that everyone's to blame. It's the most chilling piece of poetry of the year, and it's delivered by an equally intricate MC. Fantastic song. Number 11, Holy Shit by Father John Misty. At first glance, this seems like the simplest song on I Love You Honey Bear, at least compositionally. But the further you delve in, the more instrumental subtleties crop up, culminating in an incredible swell in the final verse. And the lyrics are even denser, discussing love as a concept and pointing out all the times that it has not worked out, and pointing out its futility and the lie of it all. And yet, at the end of the day, he keeps asking what it's got to do with him and his wife, since what they have between them transcends all of that. Top it all off with the fact that this is a wedding song, and you have one of the greatest declarations of love of the year, and a phenomenal song to boot. Number 10, Record Year by Eric Church. While this song's composition is deceptively simple, it only accentuates the loneliness that our protagonist feels as he attempts to get over a relationship by delving into a pile of records, attempting to dull the pain that he is feeling through music. Yep, definitely know that feeling. And while he knows that ultimately it won't solve anything, it's what makes him feel better. So you can judge him or join him. I know which one I have chosen, and God, I love this song. Number 9, Guantanamo by Jolene. Every time I listen to this song, it blows my mind, which is already a good sign. The truly chilling part of this song is just the effect it has on you. You can physically feel this song's abrasive, sharp synths as they chip away at you. Forget being a soundtrack for a horror film, this is a horror experience in and of itself. The only thing I'll say is that you need to go listen to it. It's just too hard to describe. Just go listen to it. If there is one song I will recommend you go listen to this one. It is not to be missed, and it's amazing. Number 8, Curveballs by the Wombats. One of the most desperate sounding songs of the year and the highlight of Glitterbug. Curveballs shows the protagonist's lover cheating on him, and he finally breaks it off. Yet, while you're glad he's finally free and that it's what's best for both of them, his heartbreak is just so palpable in his delivery. You know that this breakup is what's best, yet he sounds so broken that even after an album, watching how bad they are for each other, you still kind of want to see them together. And that is saying something. Incredibly powerful and anchored by gleaming, cascading synths with the best crescendo you will hear all year. This is easily one of the best songs of the year. Number 7, The Night Josh Tillman Came to Our Apartment by Father John Misty. This was an easy favourite of mine from the very beginning, and it still is. It sums up what is great about this album. The protagonist keeps trying to point out the faults in his lover, basically just being petty. Yet, the writing shows that he is just as idiotic and hypocritical as she is, with a wonderful twinkling melody filled with an undeniable warmth, and all topped off with a blowjob reference. This is easily one of the best songs of the year. Number 6, He Is by Ghost. This song is about two lovers reaching out to each other in a post-apocalyptic world and finally coming together to bask in the glorious light of Satan. That's not awesome enough. It's a folk-tinged metal ballad, and if that's not awesome enough, it is set through a lens and has instrumentation and a swell that so much Christian music tries to reach and yet cannot ever hope to top, because this is by far the most awesome religious song of all time, and it's about Satan. That is fucking hilarious. Top it off with a title that makes fun of Christians, you know, He Is, I Am. This song is just absolutely awesome, and as a Catholic, I can say that and appreciate that. This song is awesome. Number 5, Prisoner 1 and 2 by Lupe Fiasco. Yay, a 2-for-1 deal! You get two great, yet vastly different melodies, two perspectives. First from the point of view of the prisoner, which is detailed and grimy and filled with great bars which just go on forever and I absolutely adore, but then we get the real gut punch of the track when we get the other point of view, the guards. As it shows that the prison warden is just as trapped as all the other prisoners. In fact, he's jealous of the prisoners and of the inmates, considering that eventually they'll be released and he never will be. This is revolutionary in a society that typically alienates police officers, and it is a daring move for a rapper to make a song like this. I know that Lupe has made some great songs, but I'll be honest, this is his best song to date, and it'll probably define his career because it is awesome. Number 4, Children of Children by Jason Isbell. This is easily my country song of the year. Not only for that phenomenal instrumental outro, which you really all need to go listen to, it is a great song in and of itself. Not only because it discusses and frames the fear and helplessness of teenage pregnancy excellently, but because Isbell himself feels guilty of robbing his mother of her life. And he also has to deal with the pressure of being an outsider within his own family, being the only one in 5 full generations who didn't have a teenage pregnancy and actually being alienated for that. This song is gorgeously written, gorgeously composed, and wonderfully performed. Anchored by Isbell's hushed, emotive voice, this is easily one of the best of the year. Number 3, Under Grey Skies by Kamelot. There were a lot of power ballads that I could have put on this list, but by far the best one was Under Grey Skies, one of the best songs of Kamelot's career and one of the best power ballads that I've ever heard. It hits every sweet spot for me. A duet between a man and a woman, grand, gorgeous, sweeping instrumentation, an epic scope. This song is the biggest song of the year. Easily a standout of this year, this song can only be summed up in one word: epic. Number 2, The Blacker the Berry by Kendrick Lamar. Well, you all knew this was coming. The growls, the drums, the wheedling guitar. It's aggressive, it's provocative, it's dark, it's savage. It wants to make everyone feel uncomfortable, and it succeeds, as not only is it a black power anthem, but it also condemns black on black violence and the hypocrisy behind people who will lead those charges and be responsible for gang violence and yet stand up in rage at the death of Trayvon Martin. Top it all off with Kendrick framing himself as the main character, which gives this song a populous edge that you would not normally get. This song is in a league of its own, and it is absolutely glorious and chilling. Easily the best song on To Pimp a Butterfly. It is also easily the best hip-hop song of the year. And yet, not quite my number 1 song, which goes to number 1, Hand Cannot Erase by Steven Wilson. You know, considering this song is from the point of view of an introvert, and she must wonder what her family must think of her all the time, and yet she still loves them, this song takes on a very interesting meaning. To put it simply, this song is about true, pure love, and the fact that despite being removed from her family and separated from her family, she still loves them, and to her, that is the purest love of all. A love which is based solely on mutual trust that spans across distance and time. It isn't necessarily about love at its strongest, but about love at its purest. About love in its purest form. When you haven't seen someone for years and yet you still feel the same way about them. And you know what? Considering that she is removed from the toxicity of society that our world creates, well, maybe she understands it better than any of us. Maybe she understands love in its purest form better than anyone else does because she doesn't have any distractions. It's an incredible concept, but you know, that's just the concept. Let's talk about the instrumentation. Instrumentally, this is hands down the most beautiful song of the year, with a deceptively simple melody, but my god, it is one of the strongest prog rock songs ever. I am not kidding. I have heard very few songs in progressive rock that I can think of that are this fantastic or gorgeous. It is excellently written. It has cascading guitars that just shimmer and gleam. There is an absolutely emotive delivery that Steven Wilson delivers perfectly. You may disagree with me, but for me, this is easily the standout song of this year. Hand Cannot Erase by Steven Wilson. My number 1 pick for 2015. Disagree? Post in the comments, but either way, it's my opinion, and you're not going to change it. With that said, this is The Social Tune. I'm Finn, and I'll see you in the next one.